you know, are you going to record now? Okay. No.
Pause. I was just, this new computer has things in different places. Sorry.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I've got it set up and I will edit that part out.
Okay. Okay.
But give me a second before we start it so I can do it nicely, as nice as possible anyway.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. We do plan to start at 6:30. We will be taking questions from the chat. So if you already have a question in mind, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. As I said, just try to keep it short so that we can manage those okay. Yeah, I don't know. So we've got one of our candidates. It's that I told okay. Okay, great. So Gordy is going to be our timekeeper. You want to just explain how you're going to do that, Gordy? So because I don't think everybody was on when you started.
What I will do, the opening statements are 3 minutes. So I will just very quickly say 20 seconds when you have 20 seconds left. And if you're still talking at 0, I'll say end. And if you could just please finish that sentence and be done. And the same with the 1 minute and the 2 minute. I'll give you a 20-second warning and just say end at 0.
Thank you, Gordy. And again, we will have 3-minute statements from each candidate, and then we will take questions from the chat. Get as many as we can. We want to wrap up those questions about 7 and then give everybody a couple minutes for closing statements. So I think we'll just do this maybe alphabetically. So let's start with, is everybody here? David's here, and Casey is here, and Eric is here, and is Kevin here? Kevin? I don't see Kevin. Okay, so we will go ahead and start with you, David, and as soon as you unmute and start speaking, the timer will start. So go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is David Drellinger. I've lived in Sacramento since I was 8 years old.
Are you having trouble getting on?
Pardon. You may want to mute yourself. So at 12 years old, I found myself a ward of the court and a ward of the system here in Sacramento. I lived in the foster and group home system and on the streets here in District 6 as a teenager. The statistics say I shouldn't be here. I should not be here speaking with you in any capacity to potentially be your representative for District 6. However, I got very lucky and I found education. And eventually I wound up with degrees in administration of justice and paralegal science and a Juris Doctorate degree from Lincoln Law School, which I'm very proud of. This, I believe, lived experience and actual knowledge of the government is why I'm the most suitable candidate for you here today. I'm not a politician. I'm more of a fighter and a problem solver. If you allow me the opportunity, I'll use my lived experience and my education to achieve our shared goals. I'll use these skills to fix the problems that we all share in this community. I've not taken a single dollar from any public interest groups, and I promise I will not, because what that does is that puts you in their pockets. And when it comes time to vote, then they're going to be expecting something from you. I've not taken a dollar from any realtors, any charter school associations, and I think that you'll find that that's what separates me from the pack. My plan consists of 5 points. I'm going to use common sense measures to make sure that every child has access to a quality education here in the neighborhood. And that is going to consist of funding schools and increasing safety in school zones. Number 2, I'm going to make sure that every family can afford to call Sacramento a home. And how I'm going to do that is, number 1, by voting for transitional living facilities in the appropriate areas along Stockton Boulevard, where there was once trailer parks and now there's just vacant lots. And I'm going to also do that by making sure that by finding every possible way that the city of Sac will enter the housing market as a market participant. Right now, the cost is $560K to $1 million to build, according to the city council, to build a 1-bedroom, and that's not common sense. anybody in this meeting could find an alternative to that. Number three, I'm going to ensure that every business has the opportunity to thrive. And how I'm going to do that is by seeking equality in business. Right now, there are certain businesses that are targeted. There, pardon? Was that 20 seconds?
Yes, 20 seconds.
Okay. Just in summation, Sacramento has the potential to be a beacon of hope. And right now, I think that we're falling behind in certain areas. And if you give me the opportunity, if you get out and you vote on March 5th and let me represent you, then I will fight for what I believe in and our shared goals. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll go now to Eric Guerra. As soon as you start talking, the clock will run.
Well, thank you, Maggie. I'm Eric Guerra, your local council member, and I'm running for re-election again to continue the great work we've done as a community. It's that work together that I've had an enormous pleasure and been humbled to focus on the critical issues affecting our daily lives, the priorities of making sure that we're funding our public parks, our community centers, addressing the issues of our environment, of climate change, and our much needed attention to our tree canopy here in our area. And most importantly, focusing on the largest challenge that it faces all of us in our city, and that's housing and homelessness. And I know this personally because I grew up here in this region as a migrant farm worker with housing insecurity and low quality housing that was unstable. And that lived experience, what it's like to have a 12-hour workday for minimum wage, for piece rate labor, even on cold days like this. It reminds me of the days of picking oranges during a frost. And I was fortunate to attend Sac State here locally, just up the street, and earn an engineering degree. And since that time, I focused on serving our community as a neighborhood association leader, as a volunteer, citizens planning commissioner, focused on housing and fighting on those issues of affordable housing. And as a council member, again, making my priority focusing on the needs of our diverse community and the families that live in it. I know it well, as a father of 2 young kids, and I feel proud of our accomplishments that we've done together as a community. When you drive down Stockton Boulevard, now you see the construction of the Mercy Housing Project, the one that is going to bring a workforce housing. Just one example of the community benefits results of the Aggie Square project I worked on. And the other one is the employment of local folks through that project. When I was at the park the other day, during a food truck event, someone talked to me about their experience working at Starbucks, and because of that negotiated agreement I worked on, now they're making above the minimum wage and in a middle-class job in the construction trades. That agreement also released funds for housing instability that is supporting those in our Broadway and Stockton corridor. I'm proud to have voted for all of the different shelters and expanding our St. John's Women's Center for Real Change, and including most recently, just this week, opening up over a 200-bed facility with First Steps Community to help those who've been on the street. In our district, just this year, we're going to be adding another 170
seconds.
mental health and community and mental health and substance abuse services. All of those quality of life issues on top of growing our commercial corridor and jobs in our area. I'm going to continue to focus on the essential priorities and focus on the daily life issues that affect our communities, have a vibrant city. Thank you again.
See, people are putting questions in the chat. The idea is that we would pose these questions to all of the candidates. So just wanted to let you know, because that way everybody gets a chance to address that. So I'm just putting that out there. So let's go ahead with Kevin. Or did Kevin get on?
I'm not sure. He was having difficulty. Is Kevin here now? Kevin is here. Okay.
Okay, Kevin, are you ready to do? I'm sorry you were having problems. So the first thing is you get 3 minutes, and there's one more candidate with 3 minutes. Gordy will give you a 20-second warning, and then he will tell you when to stop. And then we will be taking questions that everybody will have 1 minute to answer, and then at the end we'll have 2-minute statements. So I don't see Kevin.
Kevin, do you have the ability to turn on your video camera?
Kevin? Can you hear us?
Asking him to unmute. Okay,
Can you
why don't we
unmute
just
him?
go, why don't we go to Casey?
Okay, do you want to call him
give
back
him-
then? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure he's okay.
Okay, Casey, I don't know where you are here. Anyway, there you are. Okay, whenever you start talking, Gordy will start the clock.
All right. Well, thank you for having us, and hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and thank you to Elmhurst Neighborhood Association for hosting this event as well. My name is Casey Schuft, and I have lived in Sacramento for 23 years, and 20 of those have been in my neighborhood of Colonial Heights.
On there. That's you.
My small neighborhood was left out in the cold in the last redistricting, which means we haven't had a council member to represent us for almost 2 years. And this has caused us to have to fight for ourselves. This past summer, while walking my dogs through my neighborhood, talking to various neighbors, it became apparent to me that everyone thought they were on their own. They were upset, frustrated with the crime, health concerns at the homeless camps in our area, and at a loss for what to do to get help from any city department. Some of my neighbors have been victims of horrific crimes as the result of criminals infiltrating homeless camps. One of my neighbors was forced to move out of her house she'd lived in for 30 years because of the threats from some of the people in a camp next to her house. She didn't feel supported by the city departments. And I have many other accounts from my neighbors, but I only have 3 minutes here. We would call, and there was never a response. And I decided that we as neighbors needed to come together to create a bigger voice. I created our neighborhood coalition that now has over 60 members who have been working tirelessly to take back our neighborhood. We have meetings every 2 weeks where I invite various city officials and departments and make them listen to our concerns. We've been very successful in our efforts, but why? Why should we have to make them listen to us and get them to do their jobs? We shouldn't have to beg and plead to be heard. I have since formed a strong working relationship with many city officials and department heads and with the district attorney's office, who has been the most proactive in wanting to help solve Sacramento's homeless problems. Through the experience of the coalition, I've learned so much about the finger pointing, inaction, and failings of our local government. We as Sacramentans should feel supported by our officials and departments. I decided it was time to be a part of the solution. If you want change, be a part of that change and work toward that change. My strengths are that I can bring people together to work toward a common goal, and no one is doing that in our current council. I want to bring back transparency and accountability. I just learned that the county was given $25 million to build emergency shelters 9 months ago, and not one penny of that has been spent. Miller Park is now being closed, and a shelter with the ability to help 240 people is opening.
Okay.
That won't even make a dent in our ever-growing population of homeless that rises every day. Almost 10,000 homeless people with 2,400 people on the
I
shelter.
think we have to cut you off. I think you said and, didn't you, Gordy? Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So
Okay.
we need to come together and return Sacramento to its former glory. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so do we have Kevin on board now? Kevin? Did you manage to get him up and running? I'm looking for him now.
He's there.
Oh, there
um,
he is, Kevin.
But I don't. Asked him to unmute. And I'm trying to text with him.
And it looks like
He
there's
had
still some
trouble-
people in the meeting who haven't muted themselves.
Yeah,
because
if
I
you
keep
haven't
hearing
muted
noise.
yourself, please do that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's
but
a name.
Kevin-
Yeah.
Kevin had trouble getting on. Did anybody else have trouble getting on? Now that we've muted you. Okay.
Well, they can put their hands up. Well, I don't know what to do. Did you try calling him?
I
You
was
wanna call-
talking with him. I'll call him back. I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay. Well, while we're doing that, I'm just gonna take the opportunity, let people put questions in the chat. We've got a number of questions in the chat. And again, I'll just remind people that this Friday, starting at 6, doors open at 6, the forum starts at 6:30, is it a forum with 8 out of the 10 assembly candidates at the Coloma Center, 4623 T Street. And then on Wednesday, January 18, is a mayoral candidate forum that Tahoe Park Neighborhood Association has put together, and that will be at Tahoe Elementary School, 3110 60th at. I
That's a
believe, 6
that's a
p.m.
Thursday, not a Wednesday.
Okay. Yes, Thursday. Thank you. Well, we've got several questions. Let's see. Maybe Patricia, are you having any luck? I think we'll go ahead and get started because we've got several questions. So there are several questions dealing with homelessness. And in fact, almost all the questions, except for one or two, deal with homelessness. So I'm going to mention a couple of them, and then we'll take those, and then people can have their 1 minute response to that.
And we should remind people that are putting questions in the chat that the questions need to be questions we can ask all the candidates.
Yes,
If you
thank
have
you.
something for a particular candidate, you can communicate with them, but these are questions everybody has to answer.
That's right. Thank you, Francesca, for saying that. Okay, so why don't we start with well, we can start with David. We'll rotate this. So David, here are the two questions. What do you think about the daytime camping ordinance ban that will soon be proposed? There are some concerns that this is criminalizing the poor. That was just one comment. And then what do you think about, well, actually, that's not a homeless question. I'm not going to do that. Why do we have an increasing number of the unhoused and no place to send them? Okay, so those are the two questions. The daytime camping ban, and why is it we have an increasing number of unhoused with no place to send them? So we'll start with David.
Oh, thank you. Okay. As far as the daytime camping ban is concerned, I've reached out to the city attorney. I've reached out to my opponent's office and expressed my concerns about this, because this is on its face an unconstitutional waste of time that has been put forward by the city council right now. Martin v. Boise is very clear. That's a Ninth Circuit appeals decision where it said the city may not criminalize any form of daytime camping unless it has adequate beds to shelter the unhoused. This puts the burden on the city. So this burden is on the city right now, and this ordinance would be on its face unconstitutional. All the hours, all the money spent furthering it would be a complete waste of time. And unfortunately, I've gotten no response other than to say that the city attorney has given us the go-ahead and said it's okay. However, there's been many weigh-in that have greater legal minds than myself and the city attorney, and said that this is a waste of time, because this is a very clear decision by the Ninth Circuit of Court of Appeals, we are in their jurisdiction. So this is
Time was that? Sorry, I'm sorry, David. Was that time?
Time, yes.
40? Yeah, I think we'll probably need like a 10-second warning and then time.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't we go to Casey? Let's just deal with the one question because the time is short. So the one question is, what do you think about the daytime camping ban that will soon be proposed?
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted, yes.
Okay. Honestly, I think that city council comes up with a lot of Band-Aids that aren't a fix to any problem. We need safe ground camping sites. We need services. We have 2,400, as I started to say in my original intro. We have 2,400 people just on the shelter wait list. Daytime camping ban is not a fix, it's a Band-Aid.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Eric.
Great, thank you. Yeah, number one, the issue of daytime camping is to look at what other cities have done. San Diego has been looking at this proposal, and a number of people have seen the success. And more importantly, also, there are people who don't have storage, because this proposal is to look at the concept of what people need at their current time. And many times, people who are on the street feel that they need a place to be able to have for their living material, so it doesn't get stolen or whatnot. And the proposals that we're looking at is what other cities have done. Now, what is the priority? Where should be our focus? It should be, and has always been, it's always to look at housing and the support services. This is why I'm working with WellSpace to open up a mental health and substance abuse center. But in that time, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We need to be able to do both.
Thank you. Do we have Kevin yet? Do we have Kevin up?
He's been struggling and he's got someone helping him. And I think
Okay.
he's gone to various different apparati to get on, so sorry.
Okay, well, we will go to another question. This is the question. The city is planning for urban density with missing middle housing. What would you do? What would your plan be to preserve the tree canopy in residential neighborhoods with the densification? And the note is 80% of the tree canopy, Sacramento's tree canopy, is on residential property. So why don't we, we'll start with Casey this time.
Hey, Francesca, you and I actually had a long conversation about 21st Avenue and our trees that are, well, that's public property, it's not private, but the making of part of 21st Avenue to become a park. And there's no clear plan as to what is going to happen to the Colonial Heights side with the watering restrictions that are being instituted. So I have a lot of concerns about this. Do I have an answer? I don't. I keep learning about new and sometimes often depressing things that are happening in our city that I plan to learn a lot more about because we're the city of trees, aren't we? We need to protect our trees and we need to make sure that they stay. One concern is the lack of tree canopy that is in South Sacramento that also has the highest amount of air pollution in our industry area. So I think those are all very valid concerns.
Is that time? Thank you. And then let's go to Eric.
Great, thank you. I'm very proud of our work and our history working with the Sacramento Tree Foundation and Trees for Sac to advocate for more funding to increase our tree canopy. As chair of the Air District, I helped move money to those efforts and resources. And now as a member of the California Air Resources Board, I also continue to push that. But even locally, when it comes to the missing middle and those issues, I've worked with the community to look at and requiring something new that was never in our policy, which is requiring an open space requirement as part of the planning. There's always the conversation about how much to build on land, but never a conversation on how much open space to have. Now that's a policy moving forward, and that's something that I advocated for. But that's only the beginning. We need to continue to work with our neighbors and private property owners and people who own parking lots to increase the tree canopy in those areas to address the heat island effect. And I'm proud to have led that effort to grow more of our tree canopy.
Thank you. Do we have Kevin yet? Okay. We're going to go to another question. Sacramento saw 900 evictions filed in court.
Maggie, we need to do David first.
Oh, sorry, David. Sorry. Go ahead. Your question about missing middle. Okay, you got it. Sorry, David.
No worries. So Sacramento was once called the city of trees, and when you travel outside of the area, you really miss the tree canopy here. And as an immediate plan, I would hire arborists to go around and especially in Elmhurst, in Elmhurst neighborhood, which has beautiful tree cover, and I would hire them if we can secure the financing to assess the condition of these trees, because as we all know, during a storm, trees that have not been properly cared for by arborists and the likes can present a danger. However, for every single tree that falls, I believe we should plant two. I believe we should incentivize for property owners by giving them access to nurseries, perhaps vouchers, so they can do the planting of trees. Because it's been said, if these trees could talk, what would they say? And these trees have been here a lot longer than us. And I think that we need to care for them. We need to look out. It's an important part of what makes Sacramento Sacramento.
Thank you, David, and sorry about that. So Kevin is still muted and still doesn't have, are you still working with him, Patricia?
Trying. We
Okay.
then got off the phone. He's still working.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna take another question. And many of the commercial buildings on Stockton Boulevard are owned by property owners who don't have concerns about making improvements or keeping tenants. What step would the candidates take to hold these property owners accountable? And we will start with Eric, then David, then Casey. So.
Great,
Eric.
thank you. One, that's a huge priority of mine, which is why I've taken a strong position in funding our code enforcement officers. They are the ones that go out to all the landlords and meet with the individual tenants, those small business owners. And most of them on Stockton Boulevard are individual small business owners. Many of them are immigrants who have come in here, and I've sat down with them individually to help with their issues. And by making sure that we go after those property owners who are neglecting their property and making those triple net leases without the right quality, that's exactly how enforcement works. And the second thing is also making sure that we can create a more vibrant and safe environment. I helped work with our law enforcement to have bike patrols so that they are working and walking daily with those businesses so that they have a strong opportunity with them. And the business improvement districts, they're using all of the key pieces like bringing
10
art
seconds.
to those areas. It's a combination of issues that I've been able to do to help those small businesses.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have David.
Thank you. So there is an issue of upkeep along Stockton Boulevard, and I would use Eric Erickson's method, which is the stick and carrot method. We can control bad actors by putting a reward out and putting a penalty out. And the penalty would be taxation, additional taxation, if they decide to continue to allow their vacant lots and vacant properties to remain so and be blighted. And then incentives such as tax breaks to encourage them for to engage in urban development that would benefit the community. And it's as simple as that.
Thank you. Casey.
Thank you. I'd like to note something that is very drastic that has been mentioned about enforcement. There's no enforcement. We've seen that firsthand with the empty vacant building at 4921 San Francisco. There's no enforcement. There's no one who's doing anything about making this property owner take responsibility for his property. And we have drug dealers literally just camped out in front of his property. So there's really nothing that's happening from an enforcement perspective. So I would love to make that enforcement actually happen with vacant property owners who take zero responsibility for the properties that they own or the neighborhood that surrounds them. So I agree with a lot what David said. Holding them accountable, taxation,
10
and
seconds.
using those buildings. There's so many along Stockton that need to be addressed. So thank you.
Thank you. I think I got everybody on that one. And any update on Kevin? Kevin is still okay.
No.
All right. So here is the next question, and we will do David, Casey, and then Eric. So the question is, how do you feel about the city council vote to approve yet another raise for city manager Howard Chan? And is the city council being fiscally responsible? So, David.
I want to say that voting to give the city manager a raise is absolutely absurd. I hope we can all agree that $500,000 for a public servant job is out of this world. I don't believe any public servant should ever make more than 3 times the median household income. I think that there's a reason why the city council did that, because they can pave their own way to pad their own pockets and create their raises in their own salary. In 2015, when the current sitting district city councilman took office, he was getting paid $65,000. He's now getting paid $105,000 by voting and allowing Mr. Chan to take his salary above $500,000. We are making bad decisions. They are not fiscally responsible. There's no common sense. There's no way to make this make sense. And it is maddening, but we will deal with it when we get someone proper who cares about the finances in the seat.
Okay, KC.
Anyone who knows me or follows me on social knows for a fact that I absolutely oppose a raise for the city manager. A city that's in crisis and not being managed, you don't get a raise for that. And it's actually over $600,000 that he is making after all is said and done. So I absolutely oppose any raise. And in the last city council meeting where they violated the Brown Act, where they voted in private, Mai Vang, Katie Valenzuela, and Mayor Steinberg were the only ones who abstained. They did not vote no, they just abstained from voting.
Thank you. And Eric.
Thank you. All our charter officers, including the city manager, are reviewed annually or regularly and annually. And then that review is how we determine their compensation. Now, clearly the gaffe or the oversight from this last vote from both the city manager, the clerk, and the city attorney are things I'm going to take into consideration when the item comes up tomorrow. That and including always, as I do with any item, the comments from the public on when I take an action.
Okay, thank you. Anything from Kevin yet?
No.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, here's this should be a yes or no question, so maybe this will be quick. As a candidate, would you say no to campaign donations from special interests like law enforcement and corporate businesses that own housing? And of course, there's other examples. So let's go with Casey, Eric, and then David. You could be short on this if you, I don't know if it's yes or no, but anyway, go ahead.
I am entirely grassroots. I'm just a citizen like you. I've never run for anything in my life, and all of my donations have been from friends and family.
I think the question is, would you take them from special interests or law enforcement, or like?
Oh,
Example.
sorry. You know, I believe in our citizens and what they believe in as far as who they support. I don't think it's necessarily, what's the right word? I don't think big money is necessary when you know for a fact you are going to represent your city as a citizen and want the best for that city. So I don't think money matters in that respect.
Okay, thank you. So, Eric.
I've always rejected any campaign contribution from oil companies or tobacco companies. Those have been my hard line. Everyone else has I believe, particularly has the ability to support either my decisions and leadership or not support them and support other candidates.
Okay, thank you. And David.
As I stated before, my answer is unequivocally no. I will not put myself in the pockets of any special interest groups because I'm making a promise to you right now and to myself that I will fight for what I believe in. And I will, when it comes down time to vote, I'm not going to be in anybody's pockets. I'm going to vote from the heart and for what I believe is best for the city. And as I said, I'm not taking any money from any special interest groups.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're going to take one, maybe two more questions. Has Kevin been able to join us at all? I don't see.
No, I'll let you know if he can.
Okay, all right. So this was a question I started before. We'll go Eric, David, and KC. Sacramento saw 9,000 evictions filed in court, plus over 10,000 unhoused on the streets. Are you, as a candidate, for tenant anti-harassment, a tenant anti-harassment ordinance and actual legal counsel? So we'll take that question. So that will be Eric, David, then KC. So Eric.
First, I'm the one who helped propose a tenant protection ordinance helped get money from the federal funding through the CARES Act for tenant assistance programs, and also created a affirmative defense for unlawful detainer when it comes to evictions. And I will continue, particularly when there are tenants who are being harassed, or there are landlords who aren't following the rules, to use the code enforcement, as we have had on some of these slumlords or large apartment complexes, to make sure that they're following the rules. And to me, that's the important thing, is we build on each policy that we've done. We never had an tenant protection program, and now we do, and we're going to continue to make that better so that people have the equal rights. But most importantly, I also created a legal defense fund through the Fuel Network, and I want to always continue to support those ways to do legal assistance, even when it comes to tenant protection.
Okay, David.
I believe the lack of tenant protection currently is one of the main reasons why we have such an influx of unsheltered individuals. To contradict what my opponent just said, I believe he is right now in the process of pushing through, because he is in the pockets of realtor associations, forgive me for just saying so, that he is absolutely fighting against tenant rights right now, in contrast to what he just said. I believe there are proper legal processes to evict tenants who are holdovers and are not paying rent. And I believe that we are all entitled to due process, and in some instances, so we can stop the influx of unsheltered into the streets, we need to add additional protections. But I would not say that right now we are seeing proper protections for these tenants, and the numbers speak for themselves.
Thank you, David. KC?
I actually agree with what David just said. I don't think our current incumbent is protecting tenants, and I 100% am for affordable housing, for anti-harassment ordinances, actual legal counsel, and inclusionary housing. Where Sacramento and California is going in general is not affordable, and more needs to be done for our unhoused that continue to be unhoused every single day. The numbers keep climbing. We need to protect our tenants. Tenants deserve a safe place to live.
Okay. Did I get everybody on that one? I think I did. Okay, this time we'll do David, KC, and Eric. This might be the last question. This is the question. District 6 has the second highest number of Black and brown men pulled over for unlawful police stops. What is your plan to address this repeated and ongoing civil rights violation? David, KC, then Eric.
I'm not for defunding the police. I want to say first and foremost, I do not think it's okay that certain public interest groups want to legalize fentanyl and methamphetamine. However, that being said, we do need to educate the police. We don't need to defund them. Right now, it takes 2 years for an esthetician or for a barber to be able to cut hair, but an officer can come in and have a gun and the right to literally take life when the circumstances present themselves as exigent, and it doesn't take them 2 years to get that badge and that gun. And we need to put a higher standard, and we need to educate the police. We need to give them the tools that they need so they can, and implicit bias training is part of that tool bag. So they're not out there making bad decisions and intentionally targeting people that in the back of their head, they may view as the bad guy. This training has been shown to work, also to increase the police presence in these neighborhoods that are representative of that demographic. If we have a bunch of white police in a Black neighborhood, where these statistics are going to show themselves. And it's as simple as that. We need to, there needs to be a representative police force for the neighborhood that are properly educated.
Thank you. Now we'll go to KC.
I think that the defund the police title was drastically mistitled way back when. It has nothing to do with less money for police force. It's making certain services available where people don't trust the police. And I think that is very important. Supposedly 988 was supposed to be the mental health crisis line for people experiencing, but we can't call on a stranger who may be having a mental health crisis, who may not trust the police. I think that the Black and brown men who are pulled over, and it's been an ongoing thing for how many years. I think training and unbiased law enforcement
10
obviously is important and needs to be part of police training.
Thank you. Okay, and Eric.
Thank you. Knowing very well growing up as a brown man and being pulled over during this has been something that I focused on, and which is why I was part of creating the Citizens Police Oversight Commission and enhancing OPSA, which was the one that led to the study to identify the Fourth Amendment violations, and been vocal during the council about making sure that we address Fourth Amendment violations of search and seizure and making sure that there's appropriate oversight. Now, I'm very proud of the work of working and appointing Manuel Buenrostro from the Elmhurst community here, who has served on this commission and working in tandem with the community to address this. I also support the efforts of that we've created in Hiram Johnson to create a law academy, and at Sac State to create the pipeline program so that we're recruiting people from our community who know our community, who've grown up here, to be able to be our future members of law enforcement. And to me, it's that combined effort that will change our department.
Thank you. Well, we're going to go to our closing statements now. Very sorry we didn't get to hear from Kevin, but I really appreciate the three people who have spoken. There are more questions in the chat, which we can save and forward to the candidates. But we're going to have our 2-minute closing statements, and we will start with Eric, then Casey, then David. So 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. I just want to thank everyone for their time. I've been very happy and proud of the opportunity to work with community to address these critical issues. I can see and point directly to the housing that we've done, the shelter that we've done, the support services, the workforce that we've done, the support on human trafficking, the support on childcare, making sure that we're looking at our environment for the long term in the future. As a council member, I look at all of these issues because it's all connected. If we don't address our workforce, which is why I focus so much on high-wage jobs and making sure we're getting people supported into the middle class so that they can survive in the future, so they can purchase their home, so they can create that opportunity. To me, it's all those pieces that make a strong city. I'll continue to do that as I've done in the last 8 years, not only on the council, but even before then, making those tough choices and advocating for affordable housing when NIMBYism tells us no, not in my backyard. I've been the one that's been focused in making sure that we provide that. I'll continue to do that, not only for during this time, but even in the future. And I'm excited to be here with the Elmhurst community again and hope to serve as your council member in the future.
Thank you. KC, your closing statement.
Thank you all so much. This is my first ever forum, so this is all new to me, but ultimately we need to come together to return Sacramento to what it once was. And I want to be an instrument to make that happen. Sacramento is an amazing city that is in crisis. And we are in a place right now where we need new leadership. We can't rely on people who have been in leadership positions already that have given us the current crisis. It's time for change. Less talk and more action is needed. I believe I can be that person for District 6. I'm not a politician. I'm ready to work for all of us. A vote for me is a vote for action and immediate work on helping all of the people of Sacramento return the city to the vibrant place it once was.
Thank you, Casey. And David.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate my 5-point plan that I didn't get a chance to run through in the opening. I believe that every child needs to have access to a quality education. I believe that every family should be able to afford to call Sacramento a home. I believe that every business should have the opportunity to thrive. I believe that every neighborhood should feel safe. I believe that every resident should feel valued and part of a vibrant community, because Sacramento is just that. And you should have a voice, which is why I'm going to keep my lines open, which is why you can go to my website and you can reach me directly. You won't get someone who's telling you make an appointment next week, and I'll speak with you directly. Sacramento has the potential to be a beacon of light and progress. We are the capital city of California. Everyone should be able to reach their full potential here, and they should be able to thrive. Let's work together. Let's make this happen. Please go to the polls, Elmhurst, on March 5th. Cast your vote for common sense and vote for me. Give me the opportunity to fight for you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Patricia, can you be sure to save the chat, because I do want to send the chat questions to the candidates.
Yes.
And maybe we can figure out some way to get Kevin included. I want to thank everybody again for coming and again remind you of Friday's forum and then the following Thursday's forum for the mayoral candidates. And ballots will start coming out the first week of February. There'll be a number of weeks before the March deadline. So we'll be seeing those ballots fairly soon. And again, appreciate the candidates' time and everybody for coming out. So we are now going to have our Elmhurst Neighborhood